as we celebrate one of our own congregants, Vivienne, who has worked, and let me just say, it didn't just fall out of her head one day and write it down and suddenly, like a microwave, there's a book. Talking about a journey, right? We're going to dig into that a little bit more. It was Albert Einstein that said, imagination is the preview of life's coming attractions. And anything we can imagine and see when we are connected to our divine source that is our call, our answering, our yes, connected to that light that we all are, suddenly it just starts moving and we didn't even know that we could write the book or live it out. And Vivienne is a living example of that journey. And we're going to talk about some of that this morning. So would you all welcome Vivienne to come join me up here for a conversation. Thank you. You are welcome. Got special sunflowers this morning just for Vivienne's conversation.
Thank you, Douglas.
She asked, we sat here and we were talking about this on Thursday just as a little preview. She said, why sunflowers? And I said, because I see you as that sunshine, that beaming light. So why not, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so glad that you're here, and we're going to talk a little bit about, Vivienne's got a book signing today, so we're kind of the launching place for something incredible. And I know for many of us, there's been words on your heart or in your soul that you thought one day that would make a great story or a great journey that will ultimately be a purpose to help other people. I think that's where the alignment really happens. And so when Vivienne's first books came in, I had no idea what to expect. And then, I looked and I thought, whoa. I was going to thumb through, but this is what I like to say. It's a textbook, a way to dive deeper into understanding. And then, lo and behold, there's a workbook to accompany it. So, wow, good job.
Thank you, Douglas.
Great work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, can we dive in? So, right away, when I was looking through the book, I opened with this, and I'd like to open our conversation with this. Vivienne writes a lot in here. You get to see her story and a reflection of her life. It's almost like a movie script that's going on this journey, this deep, long journey. And part of the things that stuck out for me today is, in essence, she wrote that I remembered. It was a remembering. Experienced, and it was the joy of the secret of life, which her book is entitled A Secret of Life. And the voice is written by Shel Silverstein from the Mind's Journal, and it's this. There's a voice inside of you that whispers all day long. I feel that this is the right time for me. I know that this is the wrong time for me. But no teacher, preacher, parent, friend, or wise man can decide what's right for you. Just listen to the voice that speaks inside. That's that divine, intuitive voice, the voice of God, that speaks to all of us. I think the biggest question is, are we listening? Would you say?
I think that, is this on?
Oh, it's on, yeah.
Okay,
You're
for
good.
me, I think there's 12 universal laws that must be actualized in this book in order to achieve the soul's earthly purpose and destiny. For me, I think the most important is learning to listen to and trust the soul's whisper, because it's always right.
And the world is noisy. The world voice is noisy. Our devices are noisy.
And it comes from a higher dimension, the fourth dimension, so it's not going to, a lot of times it doesn't make sense.
Right.
But what I did so that I would learn how to listen is I took a 3x5 card in bright, bold pink letters. I wrote Soul's Whisper Omens on a 3x5 card. I put it on my nightstand. It was the first thing I saw in the morning and the first thing at night. And during the day, I learned the difference. I learned to pay attention. And so when I heard my soul's whisper, I wrote it down. And every day, whatever my soul whispers, I write it down.
And what was interesting the other day is when you told me about that card, You carried it with you everywhere. You never left that card behind.
My goals.
Right, your goals.
But
And you carried them.
But the 3x5 card is on my nightstand. It's the first thing and last thing I see every day.
And then your goals you carried with you to work.
Everywhere.
And so everyone can know a little bit more. Where did you work and what was your career before? Author was never written in your life story. You said, one day I'm going to be an author. When I grow up, that wasn't there. Talk a little bit about what you were doing before you dove into the spiritual practice and then, of course, into becoming an author.
I lived in Houston for 30 years. I owned and operated a salon and barber studio for the last 13 years I was there. Around the same time Ronald Reagan died, my cousin called me from California and he said, well, my nickname's Jeannie. He said, Jeannie, Daddy died, my father's brother. So I called my daddy and I asked him, did he want to go to the funeral? And he said yes. So I flew to Denver, got my daddy. When I went to pick him up, he had no luggage, no nothing. We spent the day in LA, and that next morning he got up and he started telling me his life story. And then he looked at me and he said, and who are you? I love my daddy. And I was devastated. And so I realized my daddy did not, you know, he wasn't himself. And so when I got back to Houston, I was able to contact his doctor, and his doctor told me he had Alzheimer's. Well, I knew immediately I had been called to go back to Denver because my parents were divorced. I knew I had to be there to take care of my daddy. I had my dream car, a nice home. I loved my salon and barber studio. I thought I had everything, but nothing meant anything. I sold everything quickly. I got back to Colorado. I was there with my daddy. Then I came back to Dallas in '07, and I could not figure out, what am I supposed to be doing? And so I went back to school. I took medical billing and coding because I thought, oh, I owned a salon and barber studio. I can manage a doctor's office. Got a job in a doctor's office, hated it. And so I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? And so I remembered Oprah said, I asked God to use me. So I wrote a goal asking God to use me. I read that goal constantly. In '09, at my father's repast, my daddy was a black cowboy, horseshoer. He rodeoed, he was, you know. And my brother and his best friend had done a fabulous video of Daddy with his horses and all that. And you know, black cowboys just have a swag, okay? So everybody loved it. And so two people came up to me and said, you should write a book. And I thought I was supposed to write about a book about Daddy, so I thought, oh, I can do that. And so then, about a month in, I knew I was supposed to write a book to heal me. And I was like, but God, I'm not a writer. But I knew I was supposed to do it. August 15, '09, I woke up and the title, You Are Good Enough, was in my head. I knew that was my title. And so, January 2010, I started attempting, you know, I knew I had to start it.
I love that. And so you can see the timeline. This wasn't last month. Vivienne said, hey, I'm going to write a book. And it evolved into such a different place. But when we were talking about this the other day, the thing that I found fascinating is sometimes when you listen to other people's journey, you can see something as the observer. And I remember sitting here with you, and it was a tender moment that we had on Thursday. And she told me about her father, dementia, the Alzheimer's aspect of it, and him looking at her going, who are you? Which we all know was him not remembering. But do you also see, and this is what I said to Vivienne, there was a divine, really prophetic voice that was looking at her, who are you? That was the catalyst that would really begin to shift well, who am I? Not just about a loss of memory, but actually about naming a call on your life. And that was a beautiful moment that you wrote about. It's so beautiful in this book.
Well, on the cover, I have a quote that says, "Only through manifestation can one come to know thyself."
Yes.
Because it's the soul that manifests whatever, not your humanness.
And you write in here that connects to A Course in Miracles, which is another tool that you use. And also Earl Nightingale's cassettes, too, was powerful for you. And that we have tools everywhere. That's the thing. Let's use all of our tools to see how we can find that light. But you wrote here, when you receive the call, listen. The time has come for the soul to fulfill its sacred earthly covenant. And you didn't write yesterday or tomorrow. You wrote now, because it's the present moment in which that all comes up. I want to add something, and this is a powerful piece for me, and whenever I saw this come up, I want to share it with everyone. Vivienne points out several people that you'll know in her book, and here she mentions Rosa Parks. And I love this part. She said, "I believe Miss Rosa Parks remembered and visualized her sacred birth vision. And when she said, 'I knew that I would never ride another segregated bus again, even if I had to walk to work.' I also believe Miss Parks moved in the same direction with her soul, and she had the audacity to double down regardless of the risk, because she remembered who she was, and she stood firm in that truth." I love the connection that you made there for that.
Writing this book, okay, I'm going to just tell the truth. I had studied motivational books for years, but every book I read was by a white author, and I really think it was for the white audience.
Yeah.
I never read a story about someone black. And so I had picked up James Brown's book, Miles Davis's book, sometime in the 90s in Houston. And every time I picked it up, I couldn't read it. And so in 2010, my guidance was, "Vivienne, it's time to read Miles Davis's book. He will help you write." And when I read his story, I realized that black people attain success the same way white people do. I couldn't believe it because I'd never heard black stories.
And culturally, you'd been taught
brown
that was
stories.
the world in which you moved and lived. Of course. I love, you probably not accidentally, but you said James Brown, and I've got to bring this part up because this was off the charts here. James Brown, you know who I'm talking about, right? So this part of the book on page 139 is called "Papa's Got a Brand New Bag." Powerful. In 1965, during the Civil Rights Movement, a musician delivered his new song to a new record label. The following is paraphrased from "I Feel Good." It's a memoir about the soul of James Brown. Sid Nathan of King Records didn't think the song could possibly be a hit. He didn't get it. He thought the song was crazy. He couldn't figure out what it was even about. And when he asked James Brown, James responded, "All I know for sure is it had to come from someplace so deep inside me that it had to have been put there by a higher power. And when people hear it, they know it and they feel it." Yes, right? You get that. And I love that you put him in there. That must have been a significant moment for you when you read that part of his story.
I didn't know it at the time, but James Brown was really my teacher. And I was raised in the 50s when I was colored. And then, in the 60s, and there was no image of a black woman. Like, the only image of a black woman was Aunt Jemima. So I really didn't think I was good enough, smart enough, anything enough. And so James Brown is the one who created the one. So here's this song on the one And he got everybody's attention. And then he comes back with, I'm black and I'm proud.
Mm.
And he had swag and charisma, and he made black current and awesome. And he just had that charisma and swag. And so he taught me that black is beautiful.
Absolutely. I love that. I love the different authors and the different storylines that you weave in through this book. Along with, that's what's so interesting. When you have what is a text, but you can go through a life story, you can see other people's story. It's a compilation of sorts of various people that have found their light, their truth, their goals that have been met. And you write in here about Ray. Ray's uncle or Ray's dad? Rayfield is someone in Dallas, but Ray is uncle.
Okay, Ray that owns the air conditioning company, he's
Right.
right here in Dallas.
Right. I believe in God. I believe in myself. These are his words. I believe greatness is possible for me. These strong words of affirmation are powerful. They could be on goals. They could be something you write down on an index card or carry with you on your phone, but something that you read, that you see, that you look at every day to rise up out of whatever you've been taught to think. Myrtle Fillmore, our co-founder, was taught to think that she was a sickly little child that could never be nothing but the sickly little child her family told her she was. Until she said, wait a minute. That's not the story I'm adopting or taking. I'm changing my story. And my story is, I'm a child of God, therefore I do not inherit sickness. And therefore, she didn't, and let it all go. And a new story was created. And I see that running throughout here. Earl Nightingale, when you talked about the cassettes. So did you find those, didn't you find those cassettes at a store? How did that come about?
I lived in
Because
Houston, and
it was a
that was
divine
pre-internet.
moment.
And
Yeah.
so I would frequent, there were 2 metaphysical stores that were awesome.
Right.
And so this one store, Aquarian Age Bookshelf, I went there one Saturday, and I saw this cassette tape for 99 cents on the sale table. It was The Stranger's Secret.
The Strangest Secret,
And
yeah.
my soul whispered, buy it. And I did. And it was about goals, and I read it constantly. And then I shared it with my best friend. We wrote down our goals together. I worked at the post office. I wanted a salon and barber studio. She wanted to purchase her home. We read our goals constantly. We supported each other. I opened my salon within a year. She purchased her home.
And it all began to flow. Here's something you wrote about, the secret of life. When we receive the call and listen, 3 things are required of us. Are you ready? Okay, take notes. The answer is yes. Agree. We must be in agreement. Make a conscious decision to honor our part of this earthly covenant. And then we have to have a willingness. We can say yes all day long. We can say, I agree with that. It's like we talked about with the 5 principles. We've got to be able to be willing and then practice. And then you wrote, I was just prepared to accept whatever I had to face, which is also the words of Rosa Parks. Whatever it was, this is my yes, this is my call, this is what I'm doing. And whatever obstacles would show up would no longer be there because you were following the yes, the call, the goals, the light. Speak a little bit about the light.
Well, about the light?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I need to go back a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. I started writing the book in 2010. Okay, and I'm thinking my title is You Are Good Enough. So I'm listening, I'm taking every class, I'm reading every book, I'm doing everything I'm guided to do. It's the pandemic, 2020. Around April, I said, okay, God, I'm sick of this book. I want it done by the end of this year. I'm tired of it.
Let me ask, been there, done that with something in your life you're trying to do and you're just like, I'm over it, like I can't, this is too hard, this is whatever. We have all those excuses. Ego shows up to try to derail us on that. And then you went back to task.
Well, I just was honest. I said, God, I'm tired. And then my guidance was, Vivienne, read lesson 73 every day in the course and write your goal based on that lesson. So I wrote, I will there be light. Let me behold the light which reflects God's will in mine and my goal. I read it every day. My message was, Vivienne, read it. You're home. You can't go anywhere, do anything. Read this goal every 2 hours. I did it. And then I'm walking one morning in September, and this whole book falls into my head. I experienced light.
That's it.
And when you experience light, it's like all 12 powers are actualized at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe it. I went home, I wrote down my outline, I had my book.
Yeah. And then the work begins. And then we talked about it through finding a publisher, finding marketing, how do I get this done? All the stumbling blocks that still keep coming up. But then here we are today, and I want to just pause on that journey, that sacred knowing, that sacred following. And one more time, everyone, if you will, let's celebrate Vivienne for where you are in this moment, right here today.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
Because it's a journey. One more thing before we go. In the workbook, because you mentioned 73. 73 was powerful, a powerful lesson that she referred to. And in the workbook, there actually is the I will there be light. In the workbook, lesson 73, and that's part of A Course in Miracles. That's in the workbook. That's like a place where you can also process and see what's being given for you. Thank you for sitting down. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for being a part of the community and giving us the space to see we all have a journey, and these things are not impossible unless we put the stumbling blocks there and make them that way. Follow your light.
And thank you for saying yes to the call. I knew that whoever showed up had to be called. And you finally said yes.
Finally.
Thank you.
Finally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.